On June 8th, Archangel Michael showed me the moment everything changed. And why? Open immediately. On June 8th, something cracked in the realm unseen. Not a fracture of earth, not a shift in atmosphere, but a rupture in the spiritual timelines that altered the course of everything tied to your destiny. A silence swept through the heavens, and in that stillness, Archangel Michael descended with a revelation marked in fire and written in eternal light. He did not come in whispers or dreams. He came with authority. He came with urgency. What took place on June 8th was not random. It was not accidental. It was a spiritual event coded with divine meaning. Archangel Michael showed that heaven moved because of what earth ignored. Something happened, and it explains everything you've been sensing but could never quite define. That strange pressure in your chest, the distance in their eyes, the confusion that clouded your sleep, the silence that felt louder than words. All of it began when the clock struck midnight and June 8th arrived. This message isn't for the curious. It's not for the casual. It is for the called. It is for those who have felt the unease but stayed faithful. It is for those who obey the tug of the Spirit even when the mind can't comprehend. This isn't a motivational moment. This is a divine summons. A decree from the throne passed through the voice of an angelic warrior who has stood by your name since the day you were born. And now he speaks again, because your story has entered a new chapter. Not everyone will feel this. Not everyone will understand this. Only the spiritually sensitive, the watchful, the weird but still standing, they will know. They will recognize that this message comes not from man, but through man by divine prompting. You have been picked out, pulled aside, and pointed toward this moment. Be still. Be silent. Be reverent. What happened on June 8th wasn't just a date, it was a gate. A gate that opened, releasing both clarity and confrontation. What followed was not punishment but positioning. The shaking you've endured. It is proof that you are being shifted out of false safety and into holy alignment. Prepare yourself. What you are about to receive is not comfortable, but it is consecrated. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is now activated. Archangel Michael does not appear in softness this time. He does not come in gentle breezes or with poetic whispers. No, he descends with the sound of war in his wings and urgency in his eyes. He is clothed not in the garments of peace, but in the armor of divine confrontation. Because what occurred on June 8th was not a dream, not a shift in mood. It was a spiritual verdict rendered in silence but carried out in force. The moment they denied the truth, Michael speaks with thunder in his voice. Heaven moved. And nothing, I say nothing, will remain the same. This is your divine interruption. This is not a coincidence. This is not an emotional high. This is a summons. The veil had been torn for just a moment, just long enough for this message to reach you. And if you're hearing it, if your spirit is tingling, if your heart begins to pound for no visible reason, then you are the one. This is coded for you. On June 8th, heaven recorded an act, not on the news, not on social media, not in the natural world, but in the spiritual courts. Someone made a decision. Someone rejected divine truth, and the ripple cracked through timelines like lightning in a dry sky. A countdown began. Not in hours, not in human time, but in heaven's language. And that countdown is ticking now. You are not watching this by accident. You did not stumble upon this video. You are not here because of chance. No, this is a divine setup. This is an appointment disguised as content. This is a trumpet in the spirit. and it has found your ears for one reason, because what happens next in your life requires your awareness, your obedience, and your surrender. Michael stands as the warring voice of heaven, not sent to comfort you, but to command your awareness. He says this with holy fire: your struggle has not been random. Your confusion has not been weakness. Your tiredness is not defeat. It has all been warfare. Spiritual warfare disguised as ordinary life. Hidden battles camouflaged as emotional strain. Some of you have wept quietly, not understanding why the air around you felt heavy. You've noticed people pulling away or becoming overly kind with a plastic tone. You felt like you were being monitored, measured, observed, but could never prove it. And now the veil is lifted. This hath been a coordinated resistance to your next level. But the good news, they are too late. For heaven already moved. The shift already came. The sword has already fallen in the spirit, and those who operated in secret will soon be seen in public. You have not been crazy. You have not been dramatic. You have been discerning. You have been under spiritual surveillance not because you are weak, but because you are rising. The Archangel declares, within 24 hours, your spirit will confirm this word. You will receive an inner knowing, a divine ping, a sudden download, and it will validate everything you're hearing now. Be still when it comes. Do not doubt it. Do not suppress it. Receive it in full. You are in a moment that cannot be repeated and cannot be missed. This is not about punishment. This is about positioning. And you, yes, you, are being called to attention. The enemy wanted your emotion to sabotage your discernment. But now you are being summoned to silence, stillness, and full spiritual alertness. This moment is not about what they said, what they did, or how they acted. This moment is about what you know in your spirit, and whether or not you will respond in alignment with heaven. Michael commands, be still. Do not move in haste. Watch the signs. Listen for whispers. Let no unnecessary word leave your lips. There is a scroll being opened. You are in the footnotes of heaven's unfolding story, and this chapter carries your name. The warfare you feel is not about what is, but about what's coming. It's not punishment. It's preparation. And what they thought would confuse you is actually the very thing God is using to confirm you. Let every word settle into your bones. Let every sentence mark your soul. Heaven has already moved. Now it's time for you to move in divine synchronization. Type I am anointed in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. Something hath been off lately, hasn't it? You felt it in the conversations that didn't feel complete. You sensed it in the smiles that didn't reach their eyes. You caught it in the how are you texts that came too conveniently, right after a breakthrough, right after a battle, right after a moment where your spirit started to rise. What happened on June 8th wasn't just a spiritual event. It was a silent exposure. A veil was pulled back, not just over the heavens but over the people around you. And what was once hidden has now become eerily visible, not through facts, but through feelings. Through that strange internal alert system that kept going off without evidence. That spiritual static in your mind, that nagging weight in your chest, that wasn't paranoia. That wasn't anxiety. That was prophecy in its rawest, purest form. You have been emotionally disrupted because you are spiritually awakened. The people who once poured into you suddenly grew quiet. The ones who supported you in public began to distance themselves in private. Others started acting overly friendly. Too nice. Unnaturally accommodating. Why? Because they've been watching you. discussing you, deciding things about you, without you. And yet, what they don't know, what they can't see, is that heaven has already spoken. Archangel Michael revealed that your name was mentioned in rooms you didn't enter, but the moment your name touched the air, angels marked the sound and traced its origin. God has been watching them while they've been watching you. Let that settle in your spirit. You are not being forgotten. You are being revealed. You felt this disruption because your soul is tuned into divine frequency. What they dismissed as overthinking was actually overhearing. Your spirit picking up on conversations that haven't even happened yet. Because June 8th didn't just mark a new day. It marked the death of illusion. The spirit of deception that had covered relationships, systems, and surroundings it cracked. And through that crack, you began to see. You feel. To know. You're not losing your mind. You're finding your discernment. This message comes to affirm what you couldn't say aloud, that the room has shifted, that the spiritual temperature dropped, that people you once trusted are now operating under a different influence. And although you don't have the evidence yet, your spirit does. Michael said, the ones who left you out were never written into your next chapter. Let that hit. The reason you felt distant even when surrounded by people, the reason your emotions have felt like waves crashing in unpredictable patterns, the reason joy has felt inconsistent and rest has felt incomplete is because your internal compass has been trying to find true north after a divine realignment. What you lost was not connection. It was camouflage. They pretended better than they performed. But the spirit doesn't lie. The soul doesn't forget. And now, you stand in the clarity of the unseen, holding the knowledge that June 8th didn't just shake heaven, it shattered pretense. Feel no guilt for what you feel. Your emotions are instruments of revelation. They are the soundproof chamber where God whispers what people won't say. That strange feeling you couldn't name. It was heaven telling you, they've shifted. That dream you couldn't shake. It was a spiritual surveillance tape. Now you see why the vibe changed. Now you know why the room felt colder. Now you know why your spirit backed up when your mind told you to move forward. You are not broken. You are chosen. You are not unstable. You are unlocked. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $10. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Make sure to subscribe for more divine insights, spiritual alerts, and prophetic encouragement directly into your journey. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Type I receive in the comments if this word confirms your discernment. Blessing code 1313 is now activated. This battle is not what it looks like. Let me make that clear. This isn't about the person. This isn't about the conversation. This isn't about what they said or did. This is not a conflict with flesh. This is divine exposure. This is spiritual warfare, dressed in natural tension. It's not about losing friends or shifting jobs. It's not about random chaos. It's about divine alignment. It's about shaking loose the weak roots so the tree can grow. It's about pruning. Painful, yes, but prophetic. Archangel Michael makes it plain. The shaking is not punishment, it is proof. Proof that God is not playing about you. Proof that your prayers were heard. Proof that your growth is too real to remain surrounded by half-hearted loyalty. Proof that heaven honors those who walk in truth. You've been looking at the mess and thinking, why is this happening to me? But the better question is, what is this revealing for me? Because this shaking, this tension, this sudden shift, it's not here to destroy, it's here to discern. God is using this conflict to expose alignment. Who's really for you? Who's been riding your presence, but resisting your progress? Who's been in agreement outwardly, but in jealousy inwardly? This is the test, not of comfort, but of character, not of emotions, but of essence. And the enemy, frustrated that he couldn't touch you directly, began to twist the circle around you. Can you feel it now? The strange energy in conversations, the weird tension in one's familiar spaces, the passive-aggressive silence, the too late responses. It's not imagined. It's engineered to provoke you into reacting instead of discerning. But hear this. Your reaction would be your disqualification. You are in the middle of a spiritual chess game. Heaven has already made the first move, the exposure. And now the next move is yours. Will you play emotionally or prophetically? Will you attack with anger or observe with authority? Archangel Michael whispers, this battle is evidence of your next assignment. The friction isn't a sign you're off course, it's confirmation you're nearing the gate. That's why the pressure intensified. That's why your peace was tested. Because the enemy smelled your promotion. He heard your name in level of heaven. He recognized that something was being handed to you, and he sent agitation as a last-ditch attempt to distract you. But what he underestimated was your growth. You no longer swing at shadows. You no longer chase after closure. You no longer need validation to obey. You are not who you were before June 8th, and because of that, you cannot afford to respond like the version of you that existed before the shaking. This is not about revenge. This is about revelation. God is letting them speak, not to wound you, but to reveal them. Let them talk. Let them plot. Let them assume. Because in a few divine steps, they'll realize that the very trap they set for you became the setup for their exposure. Stand firm. Stay alert. Don't fight flesh. Fight the urge to retaliate. Heaven fights your battle when you refuse to lower your voice to the level of petness. What looks like a breakdown is a breakthrough disguised in chaos. What feels like rejection is actually protection. And what appears to be betrayal is actually God's rescue plan. You are not under attack. You are under transformation. Type I am untouchable in the comments if this resonates in your spirit. Blessing code 9898 is being written over your life now. Watch within 72 hours, Archangel Michael warns, his voice thunderous and urgent. They will move again, but this time, it will not be subtle. These words came sharp, decisive, as if heaven itself was sounding an alarm meant only for those with ears to hear. And you, right now, are hearing it. Not with the ears on your head, but with the ears of your spirit. You're being warned because something is approaching. Something concealed. Something coordinated. Something that carries the scent of betrayal but is cloaked in diplomacy. What's happening now isn't just natural. It's strategic. A conversation is being planned. A gathering of voices is underway. And though your name won't be in the room, your presence will be. Your influence, your decisions, your calling, that's what they're circling around. And this, beloved, is not flattery. It's not respect. It's manipulation. They are moving around you like shadows, reassigning positions, stealing narratives, writing roles. And the dangerous part is, it will look innocent. You will feel harmless. But spiritually, it is a movement designed to isolate and sabotage. This is why Michael stands now, not with gentle comfort, but with commanding force, to sound the trumpet. Do not react. Do not defend. Do not chase clarification. The urge to respond will come like a flood. You will want to prove your innocence, assert your value, reclaim your place. But listen to me. Your reaction has power, and heaven is watching what you do next. Because this is not a battle over truth. It's a battle over response. The enemy's strategy is simple: provoke you into carnal response, so your spiritual authority is compromised. And in that compromise, the blessing that was sent for delivery could be delayed. But not this time. Not again. Not after June 8th. This time, heaven is putting a divine restraint over your mouth and a spiritual command on your spirit. Observe. Don't engage. Watch you, but do not war with flesh. Over the next 72 hours, you may notice unusual messages, strange interactions, vague references. You may overhear conversations that feel too pointed to be coincidence. You may find yourself brought up in conversations you weren't invited to, directly or indirectly. This is not your cue to enter the room. This is heaven showing you what's being said in your absence so you can discern who you can carry into your next season. This is a sorting, not a setback. Heaven is letting them speak. Heaven is letting them maneuver. Heaven is letting them plan. Why? Because the very act of their planning becomes their expodu. What they're plotting in secret, God is documenting in the Spirit. And the moment they step beyond their permission, judgment begins. Not by your hand, but by His. You see, when Michael issues a warning, it's not a suggestion. It's a command meant to keep you within divine alignment. The atmosphere is heavy right now, not because of fear, but because of preparation. You are standing at the edge of a divine interception. Something they tried to alter is being intercepted by heaven's strategy. Something they meant for demotion is being routed into divine promotion. But your obedience in this moment is critical. Your silence will speak louder than confrontation. Your stillness will carry more weight than argument. Your refusal to engage in fleshly drama is your spiritual advantage. This is your test. Can you stay elevated while they drag the atmosphere low? Let it go. Let them go. Let heaven handle what you were never meant to fix. Because while they whisper, heaven is writing. And while they move in deceit, angels are moving in defense. The justice that's coming won't just be public. It'll be prophetic. Every word spoken about you in secret is being exposed to the Spirit of God. And soon, what was spoken in darkness will be reversed in light. Type "I am protected" in the comments if this is your confirmation. Blessing code 3030 is covering your name. Be still. That is heaven's instruction now. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. You are not being asked to sit in silence due to weakness. You are being commanded to hold position because the armies of heaven are in motion. Archangel Michael stands with sword drawn, with divine assignments in hand, and heaven's forces are positioning around your life with supernatural precision. You are not required to defend what God has already declared. You are not required to engage in battles heaven has already claimed victory over. This moment requires your silence, not because your voice has no value, but because your silence has more power than you think. Do not fight, Michael declares, where angels are already warring. You've prayed. You've wept. You've tried. Now you withdraw. Now, you speak little and listen more. Because the spiritual chessboard is in motion. And in this moment, your strategy is not in saying more, it's in saying less. Your divine covering hath been activated, and heaven is playing for keeps. This is where discernment must overtake emotion. because your natural instinct will want to argue, correct, fix. But that instinct, if not surrendered, becomes a trap. The enemy hopes you will grow weary of the silence and try to fix what was never your responsibility. But you must hear this clearly. You do not fight where God has already declared victory. Repeat this now. Let it settle deep into your soul. I am hidden in divine armor. Yes, you are hidden, sealed, guarded. There is a dome of protection over your name, and your enemies cannot penetrate it. Heaven has placed angelic shields around your identity, your purpose, your path. They will not reach you. They may try to imitate, instigate, or intimidate, but they cannot access the place where you now dwell. Because your spirit has been elevated, you are seated in heavenly places, and that seat comes with a shield. This season is not about arguing your value. It's about walking in your assignment. Don't chase down rumors. Don't try to explain what they already decided to misunderstand. Let them talk. Let them twist. Because while they exhaust themselves trying to distort your image, God is preserving your elevation. Heaven has rerouted your energy on purpose. You don't even have the same bandwidth anymore, and that's intentional. Because you're being protected from spiritual contamination. You are being filtered, refined, purified. Not because you're weak, but because you're chosen. Michael says, rest, because silence is your current superpower. Yes, rest. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to be in every conversation. You don't need to monitor everything they say. The shepherd has you. The shield surrounds you. The warrior goes before you. You are not alone. You are accompanied, guarded, protected. This is not the season to fight. This is the season to watch heaven fight for you. Say less. Pray more. Fast if you must. But don't waste another second explaining yourself to ears that were never meant to hear you clearly. The ones who are aligned will understand without explanation. The ones who are misaligned will resist even when you speak with truth. Let God sort the circles. Let heaven reroute the relationships. You are not losing. You are being lifted. Type I am hidden in God in the comments if this word confirms your protection. Blessing code 4422 now guards your gates. You are not who you were before June 8th. Read that again and let it settle into the deepest chambers of your soul. The you that existed before the rupture, before the revelation, before the silence and the spiritual tremors, that version has dissolved. It was necessary. It was ordained. It was heaven's way of shedding what no longer matched your mantle. Archangel Michael stands tall, his sword now sheathed, but his eyes blazing with fire. He shows you a mirror, not of glass but of glory. It reflects not your past but your power. It shows the scars that have become signatures of survival. It shows the battles that built your backbone. It shows the very moment your tears were turned into tools. You have evolved, Michael declares, spiritually, mentally, prophetically. Everything that once broke you now bends before you. That's the shift. That's the awakening. You're no longer reacting like the old you. You're moving like the warrior you were always meant to become. The pain you endured wasn't to punish you, it was to prepare. The rejection you suffered wasn't to diminish, it was to refine. Before June 8th, you still needed permission. You still sought validation. You still explained your anointing to people who were never meant to carry it. But after June 8th, heaven pulled back the curtain, and in that flash of exposure, your true self was revealed. The version of you that doesn't beg. The version that doesn't shrink. The version that knows you were never meant to fit in because you were called to stand apart. You thought you were breaking, but you were being built. You thought the silence meant defeat, but the silence was training you to speak with authority when the time is right. You thought the separation meant abandonment, but it meant ascension. You were not being punished, you were being positioned. They thought your silence was surrender. They thought your absence was weakness. They thought you'd beg, chase, explain, or unravel. What you didn't. Instead, you built. You healed. You prayed. You aligned. You found your strength in the silence. And now that silence speaks louder than any scream could. Michael's words are precise. The victim is gone. The warrior has emerged. You carry fire in your spirit and steel in your voice now. Your energy no longer leaks into dead spaces. Your presence no longer seeks to be understood. You have become fluent in the language of destiny, and it does not require the approval of spectators. You were always called, but now you are confirmed. A difference. Before, you move in insecurity. Now you move in instruction. Before, you hesitate in. Now you decree. Before, you needed them to see. Now you just walk, knowing heaven already watches. The wounds you thought disqualified you were actually initiations. Every tear was oil. Every heartbreak was a hammer, forging the strength you walk in today. You are walking proof that God doesn't call the prepared, He prepares the called. And you, beloved, have been prepared through fire. You're no longer asking, why did they leave? You're saying, thank God I was released. You're no longer wondering, will they come back? You're declaring, I'm not going backward. That is power. That is progression. That is prophetic identity reclaiming its rightful place. And now, you rise, not with arrogance, but with anointing. Not with ego, but with evidence. The evidence that you survived what was sent to suffocate you. The evidence that you prayed through what you couldn't explain. The evidence that the glory that covers you now did not come cheap. It was paid for in pain, obedience, and tears. Type I am rising in the comments if this confirms your becoming. Blessing code 5555 is crowning your next season. This had to happen, Michael whispers now, his tone lower, but no less urgent. His wings are still, but the wind of heaven pulses around him. Now you will see why. The revelation is upon you. Everything you lost, the people, the position, the peace, was not theft. It was trade. And heaven allowed it because heaven had better in store. Your mourning was not a sign of weakness, but a sign of release. You were letting go of weights you didn't even realize were draining you. That old environment. Too small for the new you. That old circle. Too confused to carry your clarity. That past assignment. Expired when the new oil began to pour. You thought you were losing favor, but really you were shedding friction. And now, the curtain pulls back. Michael opens the scroll. The words written in divine ink begin to echo, not in language, but in vibration. You feel it. You know it. Your name is being echoed in spiritual halls, not by people, but by powers, not by critics, but by covenant. Your name is reverberating through heaven's blueprint like a trumpet in wartime. And those who once dismiss you are about to witness your divine endorsement. That's why it had to happen. That's why they had to leave. That's why the plan collapsed. Because what was withheld from you was never meant to stay. It was always scheduled to be replaced. but replaced by what? By clarity, by purpose, by authority, by doors that no man can shut and assignments no demon can delay. Heaven waited until June 8th to trigger the shift because time had to align with eternity. What you've entered now is not just a new season. It's a new spiritual identity. The mask has fallen. The oil has emerged. And your warfare was a womb that birthed your prophetic appointment. Michael confirms it. The trials mark the unlocking of a sealed blessing. Yes, sealed, hidden, protected. Time, not delayed but preserved. Because this blessing wasn't for the version of you that doubted. It was for the version of you that endured. The you who kept showing up when no one clapped. The you who kept praying when no one responded. The you who kept growing in silence. Heaven watched that you, and reserved a revelation that only that version could carry. The prophetic word is this: you have passed the test. And now, acceleration will begin. You will begin to see the sudden shifts, doors open with no logical reason. Resources released. Inactions made. Restoration where there was nothing but ashes. The places that rejected you will now have to witness your rise. But you won't return there to prove a point. You'll rise because it is time. And you will rise with purity. Without bitterness. Without the need to correct narratives. Because the prophetic doesn't justify itself, it unfolds. Everything changed on June 8th, because heaven activated your release code. The delay was divine. The rejection was divine. The detour was divine. And now, the replacement is divine. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $20. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. Be sure to subscribe. Every video is a prophetic deposit for your journey. Don't miss your next divine alert. Type "I am walking and I operate" if this prophetic word is yours. Blessing code 8181 is now active in your realm. This is your moment to rise. Not tomorrow. Not after you feel more ready. Not after the approval comes. Not when they finally understand you. No, this is your moment now. This is not about perfection. It is about permission. Divine permission. Heaven has issued your release papers, and now the only thing left is your yes. Archangel Michael stands again, and this time he carries not a sword, but a scroll. The scroll is open. Your name is engraved. The ink is alive, glowing, moving, burning with the fire of destiny. He looks into your soul, past your excuses, past your wounds, past your questions, and speaks with undeniable force. Declare it now. I align. I accept. I advance. That is your activation code. That is your destiny command. The angels are waiting. The gates are open. The Spirit has moved. The question now is, will you move with it? Too often we pray for signs, we pray for answers, we pray for doors. But heaven is not waiting on your prayers anymore. Heaven is waiting on your action. Action in obedience. Action in alignment. Action without needing every step figured out. Your purpose doesn't need perfection. It needs movement. It needs trust. It needs the kind of boldness that says, even if I have to walk alone, I walk. The kind of courage that says, even if they don't understand, I'll still obey. Because now is not the time for hesitation. Heaven has already made the decision. Now the earth is waiting for your response. Michael declares this. Don't delay. Heaven is watching your yes. The delays you faced weren't punishment. They were preparation. They were spaces of divine discipline. They were intervals of hidden growth. You didn't lose time. You were being trained for timing. Every door that didn't open wasn't a rejection. It was redirection. It was heaven saying, not that one, not now, but now. Now is the time. This is not a feeling. This is a moment. And moments, when missed, turn into regret. But when seized, they unlock everything. What you carry is needed. Your voice, your idea, your ministry, your business, your art, your solution. It is needed in this earth now. And if you don't move, it doesn't disappear. It becomes a spiritual echo, waiting for another yes. But why would you give your assignment to another when heaven trusted it to you? Declare this with power. I align. I accept. I advance. Advance into the unknown. Advance through the fear. Advance despite the opinions. Because what's coming is not small. What's coming is generational. What's coming is legacy level. And legacy does not wait for comfort. It is built in courage. Archangel Michael shows that the resistance you felt isn't just warfare. It was prophetic proof that something was coming. The heavier the pavag, the bigger the prophecy. The greater the silence, the deeper the stirring. And now that stirring must become action. You cannot wait for them to understand you. You cannot wait for the full blueprint. You must begin, even if it's small. Begin with a whisper, begin with a mouth, begin with a sev. But begin. Because the blessing you seek is voice activated. You want to see the doors. Speak. You want to witness the shift. Declare. You want to walk in favor. Move. Do something. Post it. Write it. Call them. Launch it. Pray it. Claim it. But do not stay silent when heaven has spoken. This moment is about divine motion. You've been still long enough. You've been quiet long enough. You've questioned long enough. Now you activate. Type I align, I accept, I advance if your spirit is saying yes. Blessing code 7117 is now commanding doors to open before you. While you were sleeping, something happened. Not in your home. Not in your bank account. Not in your relationship. But in the heavenly dimension. A silent exchange took place, one that the natural world has not yet caught up to. But your spirit knows. You've been feeling it. You just couldn't name it. Until now. Archangel Michael reveals it clearly. There was a trade. A divine transaction. A handover in the invisible realm. What was stolen from you? Your joy, your name, your position, your clarity, was weighed in the courts of heaven and returned. But not as it was. Upgraded. Multiplied. Restored. You didn't have to beg. You didn't have to scream. You didn't even have to fight for it. Because your prayers had already been stored, bottled like fragrant oil in heaven's archives. Your tears were counted. Your silence was recorded. Your faith, in the absence of proof, spoke louder than any petition. And heaven responded. Michael speaks now with gentleness and fire. A scroll bearing your name was unsealed after June 8th. That scroll had been sealed for time and season. It carried assignments, blessings, appointments, and restoration, but it could not be accessed until the divine sequence aligned. When June 8th arrived, the code was activated. And while you were unaware, heaven began its transaction. Angels moved through realms. Ancestors whispered intercession. Divine agents shifted territories. And in the chambers of spiritual law, the balance was reversed. That's why you've been feeling strange. That's why you had vivid dreams. That's why your body feels like it's being pulled between timelines. It's because you are. The old you is fading. The upgraded version is being installed. Not by your hand, by heaven's hand. Every ounce of energy you thought you lost, it's returning. Every dream you buried, it's being resurrected. Every connection that faded, it's being replaced with covenant alliances. And every delay, every detour, every closed door, they are now being reversed. Michael continues. Every tear you cried was recorded and weighed, and the weight of your tears tipped the scale. The enemy thought he had a victory. He thought your silence meant surrender. He thought your confusion was compliance. But he didn't see what heaven was doing behind the veil. You weren't losing. You were being restructured. Heaven was trading temporary suffering for eternal strategy. You were being fortified in secret. The unsettling restlessness. That wasn't anxiety. That was the sound of destiny waking you up. The noise in your soul was not from fear. It was the whisper of purpose rising to the surface. You are not the same. You will never be the same. You have been exchanged. Heaven has given you back everything, plus interest. And now, watch how everything starts to shift. Doors open with no effort. People begin to call. Things that once delayed now accelerate. Favor flows where friction once stood. You won't need to explain it. It will be evident. Because you didn't steal it. You didn't scheme for it. You didn't manipulate it. You were faithful. You were still. And heaven honored that faith. Michael reminds you, you haven't lost. You've been divinely restructured. Your internal architecture has changed. Your spirit has been rewired. You are now carrying a different frequency. And only those aligned to your frequency will find you. The counterfeit cannot connect. The imitator cannot enter. Because this new realm has been sealed by heaven itself. You are walking into divine recovery, but it's recovery without residue. You will not look like what you went through. They will recognize you, because heaven upgraded your signature. Type I receive the exchange in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 9292 is now transferring favor to your hands. Justice is no longer delayed. It has begun. There is a trembling in the spiritual atmosphere, not from fear, but from reversal. A holy reversal. A divine interruption to what the enemy thought was finished. And Archangel Michael is not whispering anymore. He's proclaiming. Heaven is not deliberating anymore. It is executing. The divine scales have been tipped, and now what was once unfair, unseen, unspoken, is being brought into balance. You must understand this. Heaven did not forget. Every manipulation, every false agreement, every stolen opportunity, every slander whispered behind closed doors, God saw it. Not one detail slipped through the justice of the Most High. And now, justice is not just coming. Justice is active. Michael declares with flame in his tone, what they plotted will collapse in their hands. The very trap they crafted will ensnare their own agendas. The very delay they orchestrated will circle back and reverse into your delivery. The very lie spoken to stop you will become the backdrop for your greatest rise. Because when heaven moves in judgment, it doesn't just correct, it vindicates. It redeems. It lifts. You will not have to defend yourself. You will not have to speak on your own behalf. The evidence of God's favor will become your voice. The fruit of your life will be your argument. And those who tried to bear your name will now witness your elevation from a distance they can no longer cross. Michael says, they'll witness your rise, but they will not understand it. Because the rise will not be logical. It will not be deserved in their eyes. It will not match their timeline or their hierarchy. That's what makes it divine. God is choosing you in public the same way they rejected you in private. Heaven is flipping the script. This is a season of reversal so deep, so undeniable, that those who thought they won will be confused by your blessing. Those who whispered, "It's over for them," will be the same ones watching as doors open for you that they can't even knock on. This isn't petty. This isn't vengeance. This is spiritual rebalancing. This is divine order being restored. You sowed in silence. You wept without an audience. You prayed in the dark. Now comes the return. But here's the deeper truth. This reversal isn't just for you. It's through you. Your rise is a signpost for others. Your justice becomes their hope. Your breakthrough becomes the confirmation that God sees. God hears. God moves. The records are being corrected. The alignments are being rewritten. What was overlooked is now being highlighted in the Spirit. Angels are being dispatched, not to comfort you, but to restore what was yours. To bring justice to your name, your family, your calling. And the glory will not come with pride. It will come with purity. Because you didn't climb through control, you waited in surrender. You didn't scheme your way to favor. You stayed still and let God fight for you. Grace is now your vindication. Favor is now your final word. And no one, no system, no spirit, no lie, can revoke what heaven has already ruled. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $5. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating through the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And don't forget to subscribe for consistent prophetic insight, spiritual alignment, and divine instruction that meets you right where heaven is speaking. Type "I receive justice" in the comments if your reversal is already in motion. Blessing code 4114 is now sealed over your life. Everything changed for a reason. And now, at last, you understand why. June 8th was not a disruption. It was a divine declaration. It was the spiritual checkpoint where heaven said, "Enough delay. Enough confusion. Enough pretending. Now we move. I move you dead. You wept too, but you obeyed. You wondered, but you trusted. You wrestled, but you didn't walk away. And because of that, something eternal has shifted in your favor. What was once unclear has now become crystal. What felt chaotic has now revealed its order. And what felt like silence was actually God recalibrating everything around your destiny. Archangel Michael leaves you with this closing decree. You are not forgotten. You are rising. You are chosen. You are rising in boldness. Rising in purpose. Rising in understanding. This is not the end. This is the genesis of a brand new cycle. A fresh beginning governed by clarity, authority, and divine assistance. Heaven's favor surrounds you now. You are walking forward with the oil of understanding. You are being backed by the kingdom of God. Every footstep from this moment is echoed in eternity. Every yes you speak now shakes systems. Every move you make in obedience now aligns heaven and earth for generational impact. May clarity cover you. May peace anchor your spirit. May divine protection be your shield and prophetic direction your compass. Go forward with courage. Go forward in victory. Go forward in full awareness that you are not who you were. This is the aftermath of divine shifting. This is the evidence of spiritual authority. This is what happens when the heavens move on your behalf. You have been sealed by purpose, surrounded by fire, guarded by truth, and carried by grace. Now walk, not as the person they remember, but as the one heaven anointed. Type "I am chosen" in the comments to confirm and complete this divine word. Blessing code 8888 is releasing overflow into your days ahead.